All right. How we doing, everybody? Woo! We made it to the end. It feels like we just started and we made it to the end. Thank you guys for being part of this. This is like a guinea pig experiment. And so we're learning as we go. So after this session, if you've got thoughts, advice for how we can make it better in the future, please volunteer your thoughts, good or bad. We love bad stuff. Tell us what we did wrong, but don't share it with me. Share with any of the staff or volunteers wearing the name badges that say, I'm here to help, or whatever it says.
I can help you.
I can help you, yes. Let them know, because we really do covet your feedback on what we can do better. That's just one of our values, to make it better, and we definitely want to do that. Our heart is to serve you, and anything that God has taught us along the way, good or bad, that helps you go further faster is a win for the kingdom. My friend Vanessa has a clipboard. There's Vanessa in the back. Everybody say, hi, Vanessa. Hi. She's passing around a clipboard. You don't have to sign the clipboard, but if you share your name and email address, you're going to get something free and amazing. So here's what you're going to get. We do live coaching for leaders online that some of you all are part of, and we would love to continue the conversation with anybody who's interested by offering you 3 months of free leadership coaching. You get what you pay for. So you can tune in live or you can watch it later. But if you sign your name and email, you'll just start getting invitations. And if it's not valuable, you just hit spam, but it's valuable. Usually it's on Wednesday morning. So if you're at work, you can't do it. You can watch the replay later. But that's just a way that we can continue to encourage you, equip you. You have access to our team to ask questions. We'll probably start asking you questions. And that's what that is. So the clipboard's going around, 3 months of free coaching. And if you want the whole shebang deal, you go to our website, fearlessleaders.net. There's a membership thing. And nobody's getting rich here at all. All that money just goes into the website. We're trying to create a library of free resources. For example, it drives me crazy to see Facebook ads from church leaders who say, give us $1,000, we'll show you how to break 200 in attendance. We just tell you for free, because I don't think anybody should be profiting off of that. So we want to get more stuff free onto the web to help people, and that's one way we do it, is with fearlessleaders.net. So let me take a swig of coffee. There's my social media handle. If you want to connect on social media, that would be awesome. Apparently, we have a hashtag for our event that I just realized. So during this last session, if you tweet, Facebook, or Instagram, use that hashtag fearlessleaders19. How are we doing, Vanessa? Vanessa's amazing. She started attending a couple of years ago. You had been the children's director 4 years ago, came, and we discovered she was in children's ministry. We're like, oh, you'd be great. And she's like, no, I'm burnt out. And we're like, no, we get that. That's cool. And so we gave her space and grace. And now she's one of our most amazing worship techies. So that's pretty cool. When you give people space to heal, God will grab their hearts. This last session is kind of a potpourri, because I was kind of seeing what the questions were during the Q&A. Thank you guys for your questions, especially that one question that really made me think. That was so helpful to me. So I'm going to tackle a bunch of different things. And then at the very, very end, when we dismiss, I'll stick around. Our team will stick around. If you have questions or you want to talk, or if you need someone to pray with you, that would be our privilege. And that's where we're going. There's another picture of my family right there. Thank you for being so kind to my kiddos as they were here. We finally got the in-laws to move here 2 weeks ago from Pennsylvania. So now I have babysitters. I'm so excited. So I was talking to some of my friends who came up from Detroit, because they're going to relaunch their church. And so I just wanted to share just a few thoughts on that to help you. Every church should replant, relaunch every 6 to 12 months, because vision leaks. Your people forget. We live, eat, and breathe, our church life, but your volunteers, your people, it's low on their priority list. Your people in your church normally are thinking about their finances, their sex life, their kids, their work, getting the kids to the different activities. Church stuff is way down. And so you can either fight against that and be angry and bitter that they don't show up on time, or you you can see as an opportunity every 6 to 12 months to blow everything up and change. Because growing things change. I believe God wants to grow your church. I've read the book of Acts. It is not a 4-letter word to pray for growth. It's normal. A church of 120 grew to 3,000 in one day. And all they did was pray. So I am all about reaching people far from God. And here's what I've learned along the way in this fast-changing environment here at Life Church. Actually, we'll put this up on the screen. Is when it comes to change, there can be no changes in your ministry without growth. So if you want to see growth, there has to be changes. If you want to grow your student ministry, you want to reach more teenagers, growth leads to change. So what got you here will not get you there. We're experimenting with media, trying to figure out how to get more HD video online as a tool for someone who wouldn't darken our church door. So the growth of that area means change in our budget. We're allocating more money to websites. Change in how we, set up cameras and stuff. We're still trying to figure out how to get the best picture quality. It's just change involved in any type of growth. Change always leads to loss. This is why churches have a hard time with change, because you're going to lose something. You're going to lose a seat at the table. You're going to lose your place as the head usher. You're going to lose access to the senior pastor. We don't hand out my cell phone. People cannot call me if they're in the hospital. They call their small group leader. That's how you care for people. If you're a church of 200 or less, you minister to people by having direct access. If you want to grow beyond 200, you have to minister through people and have systems of care. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. The book of Acts, they have small groups. So when someone is pregnant, someone's in the hospital, they call their small group. They arrange meals. They take care of them. If someone's on their deathbed, you better believe I'm going to show up. And we've had that season already at our church. It's horrendous. But if I'm getting phone calls all the time, I won't see my wife. I won't see my kids. My kids will grow up hating the church. My wife will end up hating me. And so that's my primary ministry. My priorities in life are Jesus, Amber, my kids, the church. And I won't sacrifice my kids and my wife for the church. The church can always get another pastor. My kids cannot get another father. And they're adopted, so there's already a piece of rejection that's ingrained in their DNA. So you better believe I'm hypersensitive to rejection in their lives. And if I don't love and lead my wife, the enemy is going to make sure that I have an opportunity to have sex with another woman. So that's why I want to date my wife big time. She's my standard of beauty. So change leads to loss. You're going to make some changes. You're going to lose some stuff. Loss leads to pain. And that's why last night I alluded to this. Your church, your ministry, even if you're a volunteer, if you want to grow spiritually, there's always pain involved. Your capacity for pain is the lid to your leadership. How much pain are you willing to tolerate? So the church of 75, the senior leader has a different pain tolerance than the leader of a church of 750 people. They're still ministering to people, but the pain tolerance is different. So how much pummeling are you allowing the Spirit into your life? So Elijah, he brings fire down from heaven. That's a great day of ministry. And immediately he sinks into depression, the broom tree, and says, God, just kill me now. Because that was painful for him to be rejected by the king. Moses, in Numbers chapter 6, where the people are grumbling. That doesn't happen in church world anymore. I'm so glad. And Moses finally says, God, I can't deal with this. Let me go from this. And that whole passage, he uses me and I. And God says, it's not about you. And when you realize it's not about you, you are not responsible for how many people show up at your church. You aren't. Just let that off. There's no comparison, no egos, no swagger. It's not a numbers game. It's about people. Your job is to create an atmosphere at opportune times to engage people far from God. And that can be painful because if your church is used to having worship at 8 a.m. and they realize, oh, people far from God all have hangovers and aren't going to wake up until 11:30. The loss, the pain is we say 8 a.m. doesn't work, so we're going to shoot the horse and move to 11:30. And some people may get mad, oh, pastor, and that's where you get to be fearless. Love the person, educate the person, but if they want to leave, it's okay. Your job is not to keep people that are saved in your church. You're not here to be a yacht club. You're here to be a rescue boat on a mission. You have to get the gift of goodbye. So if a church person leaves to go to church across the street, bless them, go in peace. But don't try to hold on to them. Don't go chasing them. I learned this from Perry Noble when I was on staff at New Spring. He said, I don't chase after people. Jesus didn't have to beg for volunteers. My job is to say, here's the vision, here's where we're going, and lots of people want to be part of the excitement. In improvisation, I was taught over and over that nobody follows the person marching down the street holding a sign that says, onward to mediocrity. We all want to be part of something exciting. Growth leads to change. Change leads to loss. There will be pain. What is your pain tolerance? Pain tolerance is, are you willing to have the hard conversations? That's the season I'm in right now. Having difficult, hard conversations with people that have been with us for a long time. They don't understand the changes happening, and I have to show them we're reaching lost people. Baptisms, those stories, that's what we're about. Leaders define the win. If you don't define what's a win, somebody else in your church will. You define the win. And so for us, the win is people coming to Christ, people getting baptized, people becoming lifers. We don't call it members. Membership means I have rights. Lifers means I have responsibilities. Membership means I get a laminated card and I get a vote. Responsibility means this is my church. I can't be a consumer of the worship. I must be consumed by the vision of what could be, what should be. When I'm responsible for my church, it's with joy that I get to serve 2 Sundays a month. It's with joy that I get to bring the first 10% in my tithe. That's awesome. And that's how God grows me spiritually. But you have to define the win. It's going to be painful. You will be misunderstood. People threw rocks at Paul. People rejected Jesus. John chapter 6, verse 66. You know it's going to be a bad verse. John 6:66, it says that many people walked away from Jesus because his teaching was too hard. Gang, if people were leaving Jesus' church, you better believe that the oversaved church for Jesus are going to leave yours. You have to get the gift of goodbye. The church is a body. You need to have people coming in. You need to have people leaving. Because if a body gets clamped up and nothing's coming out, it gets constipated. You need to relieve the constipation. You need to get the crap out so that you can reach more people to come in. And that's the name of the game. So this is what you want to do, is you want to grow. Newsflash, if you want to reach people, if you want to grow, you need more people to come to your church. They don't know you exist. 6 years into this journey, people don't know Life Church exists. So how do you get their attention? Well, if you're the lead person, you are the chief fundraiser of your church. No pastor in America enjoys talking about money. I promise you. I promise you. But it's a necessity. You are the leader of a nonprofit organization. You're not selling anything. So you do not have predictable income to pay the lights, to pay for ministry equipment, to pay the salary, which is biblical. So you're the chief fundraiser. So it's about building trust with your donors. So people have a window into my life. They see my kids. They see that I'm a real person. And when I make a mistake, I own it. And that builds trust. We have a very bare bones budget at Life Church. Very bare bones. I haven't gotten a raise in 2.5 years. I'm okay with that because I'd rather use it to reach people far from God in Midland and Bay City. So there's personal sacrifices involved. And so you want people to come to your church, you're going to have to put some money. where your mouth is. And how we started Life Church is we sent out fundraising letters. We were just unapologetic. And we said, hey, we're trying to do this. You have to make the ask. The book of James says, you have not because you ask not. There are different spiritual gifts listed out in Romans 12 and in 1 Corinthians 12. One of those gifts is the gift of giving. There are people in your congregation who have resources from the Father that they love to pour into the kingdom. They're just waiting for you to ask. And Pastor, you have to be unapologetic. We did a podcast in January with Dr. David Nelms. You should get it. It's on our YouTube channel and on podcasting. And he raises millions of dollars every year to fund planting churches around the globe. And he shared for 45 minutes how he raises funds. It's all about relationships and building trust, that you don't want something from your people, you want something for them. And so you're the chief fundraiser. That's just part of the game. And then you have to budget out, where is the money going? So unapologetically, we put a significant amount of money into, we call it missions. Every dollar goes to missions at Life Church. This is the mission. And then we also give to church planting and other things. But it's missions work. In business world, they would call it advertising or marketing. I call it amplifying your message. If the Apostle Paul had a smartphone, he'd be live streaming everything. You know, he'd be blowing it up. Use the tools you have. If you don't have resources, awesome. Be resourceful. My staff will tell you that we don't have money. We do not have money. We don't. We are resourceful. We took a golf place and we recycled it. We're going to do church in the mall. You know, we use social media because it's free and it has the biggest return rate. So you be resourceful. This whiteboard was free because I asked around. These tables, we didn't rent these tables. I told my staff, find me some free tables, and they did. You can get free stuff. You just have to make some calls. You have to be a hustler. Hustle, hustle, hustle. And if you don't know how to do something, pick up the phone and call a church who does it well. We are always trying to learn from Elevation or New Spring. Or we want to talk to churches that are further down the road than us to learn from them. That's the heartbeat behind our Fearless Leaders podcast that comes out every Monday. It's free, and we're trying to learn from entertainers like Switchfoot, Rebecca St. James, trying to learn from church leaders like Perry Noble, trying to learn from comedians like Saturday Night Live's Jim Brewer, how they prepare to go on stage, how they protect their family. And then we push that out for free Mondays. You can subscribe on any podcast channel or on YouTube because you can be resourceful. That's why we do coaching with Fearless Leaders. We want to share what we've learned, the different hacks. So you are going to have to advertise. How we did it was we sent out 25,000 postcards for a monthly worship event. We did every door direct mail, EDDM. You can Google it. It's the cheapest way to do direct mail. It may not work in your culture, but in our culture, getting a jumbo oversized postcard worked because people see that in the mail. They can ignore a television commercial. We tried TV. It was not worth the money, but postcards worked for us. We did 25,000. You could give a limit of 5,000 postcards to any one post office. So I went to 5 different post offices and sent out 25,000 postcards, and we saw 150 people show up. And we could only afford to rent the place once a month. So I said, come back next month. The second month, we had more people show up who had gotten postcards a month earlier and who couldn't make it. They showed up. That's where we got our first drummer. We got our first electric guitarist. We got the 2 men who now sit on our board of directors. They've been with us the whole time. So for us, postcards was a good use of money. TV ads were a horrible use of money. You can see our TV ads on our YouTube channel, Life Church Michigan. I had hair. It was a very boring commercial. Didn't work. Radio has worked for us. We periodically will advertise on the 2 different top 40 stations. We don't advertise on Christian radio. Why? Because unsaved people are listening to top 40 music. And I want to be right in there when they're hearing Lady Gaga and Beyonce. And so we alternate between the 2 big stations. And we do promotions. We convinced one station to do a Christian countdown on Sunday mornings from 8 to 10. So we sponsor that. So from 8 to 10, people are hearing positive music, and it says brought to you by lifechurchmichigan.com. All your advertising needs to point to your website. You need to have an amazing website. If you don't know how to do it, contact us. We can help you with that. That's the front door. You need to have platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Instagram is the hugest if you're trying to reach millennials and Gen Xers. If you're trying to reach millennials and Gen Zers, or Instagram. Gen X, baby boomer, is Facebook. Twitter is just for people you want to fight with. And you need to update at least every 3 days, or people assume that your church is dead and boring. You want to put photos, like I said earlier, of happy people. You crop out the empty seats. We learned this from Elevation Church. Never put empty seats on a photo. You want to show people that look normal, that have children or have teenagers. You want to show people that look like the people you're trying to reach. So if you're trying to reach a Latino culture, you better have some Latinos on your website and on your stage. If you're trying to reach a bunch of white guys, there better be a white guy playing video games in your church lobby, on your website, and there better be a white guy on the stage. People will stick to someone that looks like them. If you want to reach single moms, highlight single moms on your website. People want to fit in. They don't want to stand out. When they show up at your church, I think a lot of the process is actually in those folders. We just printed out our training materials. But we are very careful about balancing out, making sure a first-time guest knows where to go, what their next step is, but also not getting overwhelmed. We would never have a first-time guest stand up in church. Put your hand in the air if you're new here. They don't want to be put on the spot. They want to relax and fit in and feel like they belong before they believe. Social media, you can pay for clicks. There's different strategies for that. But what you really want to do is create raving fans. Apple Computer championed that about 10 years ago, where if someone loves the product, they will share about it. So the Avengers, if I see a movie and I love it, I go on Facebook, I take a selfie, I post, I'm like, I just saw opening night Avengers, you gotta go see it. We want people to have that same feeling Sundays at church. So part of our natural rhythm is we'll flash a screen that says check in on Facebook. A lot of times if you watch our messages online, you'll see me say, hey, everybody, let's do something fun together. Open up Facebook. Let's all take a selfie. Let's check in. Let's hijack your friends' Facebook feeds. It sounds silly, but people do it, and it works. We'll tell people if you're going to take notes during the message, open up a Facebook post, take your notes there, then click publish. That way, you're sharing positive information with your friends and family. Plus, you won't forget what you learned at church. People will do it. You just need to tell them. This creates raving fans. And if people are naturally posting about Life Church on Facebook and Instagram, I don't have to spend money. Right now, we are spending this much money on advertising. It's all social media, word of mouth. The Midland thing, man, we prayed about it. We set a date, and then God blessed it. The day before, there's going to be a full page, huge thing. All the Dow executives are going to see it. All the Midland churches are going to hate us. And that was God's favor because we stepped out in faith fearlessly. You want to amplify that your church exists, but then you want to make sure you have a good product. You can advertise all you want about a Suzuki, but if it's a bad product, you're just letting more people know you have a bad product. So you think about the first-time guest experience. That's why in the folders we have our whole guest experience, which we didn't create. We stole that from Elevation Church because they kill it with guest experience. And so we think through what is it like to walk onto our campus. We are ruthless every week about how can we make it better for families, for teenagers, we want to know how we can help someone as they are moving closer to Christ. Our church exists, and then they have the best hour of their week. So we keep our services to 60 minutes or less. You don't want someone looking at their watch because the preacher keeps going. If you guys turn around right now, you'll see a big countdown timer. Look at that. You cannot miss that. That thing is huge. And at the end of the timer, it goes red. It says your time is up. Because I want to get people out in under 60 minutes. Why? Lutherans, Catholics, Presbyterians are used to going an hour and a half getting bored. If I keep it to under 60 minutes, I want to leave them wanting more. Secret of comedy, leave them wanting more. And then we want to talk about why they should come back next Sunday. Oh, you want to invite your friend next Sunday? It's going to be great because the band is going to do this and we're going to do that. Whatever it takes to enter their world is important to us. We want kids to have the best hour of their week because if a kid has a blast, they will drag their grandparents, their aunt, their uncle, their guardian to church. Even if their adult hated worship, if your kid loves something and it's free, you will take your kid. That's why we have the inflatables. In Midland, we're going to have free arcade games. Some Christians are going to go, that's so worldly. Yeah, it sure is. And Jesus always met felt needs before he met spiritual needs. And if I can engage the imaginations of those kids and then point them to the gospel, win. You want to pick times that are going to work for your target audience. So if you've got a core group that likes 8 a.m., then pastor, shut everything down for a few months, pour into them. It only takes 11 people to change the world. Pour into them about customer service. We can help you with that. Pour into, we're going to be praying and preparing for a big launch. And then if you're going to launch, pick the times of year that people are open to change. The times of the year people are open to change is January, New Year's. People are open to change at Easter. People are open to change September 1st. If I'm going to launch a new ministry initiative or launch a new church, every campus we've always launched at Easter season. We always launch 2 weeks before Easter, so you have promotions. Your people show up, you'll have a 50% drop to week 2. And then week 3 is Easter, everybody goes to church, so why not go to Life Church? That's actually our ads. This Easter, you're going to go somewhere. Why not make it Life Church? That's literally what we do. People show up, they have a great time. 2 weeks later is Mother's Day. Everybody and their mom's going to church. So you got natural bumps for momentum by using natural seasons. It happens in January, happens at Easter, happens September back to school. So you use the seasons to prepare. And then in the summer when everything drops down, pour into your people. Pour into this diehards. If you need to shut down for a season, that's okay. Right now, our Bay City campus is closed. Right now, our Midland campus is closed. And it just got voted the #1 place to worship. It's not even open. It's okay to have a season of preparation and to put your chips towards reaching people far from God. You gotta think like a missionary. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about them. You champion the vision. Bob Ross, paint the sunsets. Say, this is where we're going. And then make the ask. Say, we're going to need people to serve. We're going to need people to give. And let me help you baby steps with how to serve. Let me show you how we give. And it's going to take people, listen, if you're reaching people far from God, you're going to always be broke. You're always going to be 6 to 12 months behind what you need. Because new baby Christians, the last thing that they'll do is to write a check to the church. Because we're Americans, and that's our last idol that we hold on to. And Jesus knew what he was doing. 15% of the parables are all about finances. Because giving is not a financial decision, it's a spiritual decision. Jesus knew the #1 competitor for our hearts is our checkbook. And so that's why teaching on tithes and offerings is an important rhythm, not just to fund the vision, but to free your people from the idols of greed and self-sufficiency. And we could go off on that. That's why we gave you guys books from Randy Alcorn about the treasure principle. Fantastic book. Read that up, eat that up, teach that to your people. That's how you can fund the vision and see spiritual growth among your people. Yeah, you want to have a good product? We can help you with that at fearlessleaders.net. We can coach you through that. And if you're toying around with how do you do multiple locations, we can share with you what we did right. We can share with you what we did wrong. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Ecclesiastes says there's nothing new under the sun. And I'll bring it in for a landing with this story, a story that people at Life Church hear every single year, but it's a story that grips our hearts. Stories lead people to action. So pastors, tell stories. Jesus told stories. That's why we like movies and binging Netflix. We are wired for story. You remember stories. And one of my favorite stories is one of my heroes of the faith, a teenager named William Borden. And in the late 1800s, he was born to affluent parents in Chicago. I love Chicago, spent 4 years of my life there. There's only 2 known photos of William Borden. This is one of them. Graduates high school in the late 1890s. Mom and dad say, what would you like for your high school graduation gift? And he says, I want to tour the world. This is before airlines. He has to go by ship. So he goes around the world, takes many months. He starts in Asia, goes down through Africa, Europe, comes back to North America. 18-year-old William Borden sits down to talk to mom and dad to debrief his trip around the world. Because this is exotic. This is the time of Ripley's Believe It or Not. People have not seen things around the world. So to go around the world is a hugely big undertaking. And it shifted his worldview. Because while they expected to hear adventures, he came to them broken. He said, Mom, Dad, I saw people who do not have hope like we have hope. He grew up going to the Moody Church in downtown Chicago. He said, people in China, the Muslims, have never heard the name of Jesus. Every day on planet Earth, roughly 150,000 people die every day. And 117,000 of those people do not know Jesus. That alone should stir the affections of your heart. It stirred William Borden's heart. He said, I am going to go to college and go into ministry. So he went to Yale University at a time when Yale was still a Christian organization. His graduation gift was going around the globe and receiving a fresh new Bible. So he went to the back of the Bible. You know how sometimes there's maps at the back of your Bible, and then there's like a blank page. And he wrote down 2 words as he went to Yale University: no reserves. No reserves. 4 years at Yale University, on day 1, he began a prayer ministry by himself. He would go to the grassy knoll every morning, get on his face, and pray for the widows, pray for the orphans, pray for God to move. And he was mocked. Students would say things under their breath as they passed by. But every morning, like clockwork, he was faithful. He showed up. He prayed until one morning he felt a presence. He peeked, and it was his roommate on his face praying. Over the next 4 years, little by little, more students would show up because William Borden never missed a day. And at the end of 4 years, at Yale University, it had 1,400 students enrolled. 1,000 were showing up every morning for prayer. Don't tell me that a young person can't change their region. During that time, he became a spiritual giant. He was given the nickname Borden of Yale. You can Google that. One of the most famous quotes from young William Borden is he said, say no to self, say yes to Jesus every time. If you're looking for a fearless leader, the first picture is of William Borden. As he graduated Yale, he flipped to the back of his Bible, and underneath the words no reserves, he wrote 2 more words, no retreats. He told his mom, I'm going to go get my master's degree and be a missionary to the Muslims in China. Broke her heart. She was hoping for a lawyer or a doctor. So he went into the master's program, which led him overseas to Cairo, Egypt. If he was going to reach Muslims for Christ in China, walking in the footsteps of William Carey, who said, attempt great things for God, expect great things from God. Young William Borden, 22 years old, went to study under an American physician in Cairo, Egypt. He was learning how to speak and write Arabic. He was learning how to dress like a Muslim, how to enter their culture to share God's love. At night, he would play basketball with the Muslim youth. They did not understand why this white American was shooting hoops with them. They knew he loved them. He didn't preach. He was building relationships, earning the right to share the hope he has. Eventually, this doctor, as he was serving the poorest of the poor, contracted spinal meningitis. And the doctor died. You have to bury the body immediately because it's easy to contract. Borden buries the doctor, and yes, contracts spinal meningitis. There's no hospital, no 21st century medicine. Telegrams are sent back to America to Mrs. Borden and her two daughters saying, "Come quickly, William Borden is very ill." They board a ship, they get to Europe, they're traveling down, and as soon as they reach the outskirts of Cairo, they receive a telegram that says William Borden has died. This 22-year-old young man who said no to fame, no to money, and yes to Christ, never reached his missions field. His body was buried in Cairo, his effects were sent back to America, and it was front page news because of his parents' fame and notoriety and affluence. So you can Google the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, the headlines blaring about this young man who wasted his life chasing the people of China for Christ. But what was meant for harm in those headlines, God meant for good. Genesis 50, verse 20, because his funeral at the Moody Church was standing room only. People were out on North Clark Street peering through the small little windows trying to see in. It was a sea of young adults, 20-somethings. Young men, young women who were affected so deeply by William Borden's life. They presented the Bible to Mrs. Borden. She thumbed to the back, and underneath the words, "No reserves, no retreats," were his final words, "No regrets." That's why we handed out those wristbands last night to you. These are the final words of William Borden. Died in the early 1900s, never reaching his missions field, but at his funeral, a message was preached asking who will take the torch. Men and women who were destined for ordinary or extraordinary lives gave their lives to Christian service. The early Christian missionary movement began at that funeral service for William Borden. Missionaries, pastors, Sunday school teachers rose up. An organization called Youth with a Mission was born. In the 1940s, they hired their first full-time employee, a young man named Billy Graham. The Christians didn't like Billy Graham back in the 40s because he used microphones to amplify God's message. He was using instruments of the devil to reach people for Christ. But Youth with a Mission was fearless. They held rallies and stadiums around the globe, going to places where churches dared not go. One of those places was India, which to this day arrests Christian pastors for the offense of preaching Christ. I was there last year. I've seen it. You have to meet in homes. You have to secretly worship Christ. And in the 1950s, Youth with a Mission presented the gospel to a largely Hindu crowd where there are millions of gods. The family turned their back on Hinduism, embraced Christ, and was soon baptized at a small Baptist church in Kharagpur, India, 90 miles southwest of Kolkata. And seeing that there was not freedom to worship Christ in India, hoping for a better life for their family and for their children, they left the wealth of the train industry and slowly, over a 10-year period, emigrated to the United States. It was a very slow process. Family was separated in England. A newborn daughter had to spend her first years in England away from her mom. That's just how the United States immigration system worked. Eventually, that family all came together, aunts and uncles, grandparents, in the armpit of Illinois, Peoria, because the GIs that had sponsored the immigration were all from Peoria, Illinois. And this Indian family poured their lives into the local church, taught Christ to their children. Children grew up to have children. And that's me. I'm first generation. I'm here because my family immigrated from India to practice Christianity. They heard about Christ because of Youth with a Mission. Youth with a Mission was fueled by the death of William Borden, who said, it's time to be fearless. It's time to go full throttle with no reserves, no retreats, no regrets. And what would it look like if we threw out the old playbook and we desperately listen to God and do what he says? And we really went after people far from God. What type of legacy would we leave? Would we be popular with the other Christians? No. But King Josiah was not popular in his generation. He was relevant. And that is the best legacy we can hope with what we have here, what we have now. No reserves, no retreats, no regrets. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this time to get away and a change of pace, a change of place. God, I pray that that leads to a breath of fresh air of what could be and what should be in our ministries, in our churches. Holy Spirit, we are asking you to give us fresh boldness, just like the earliest Christ followers, to be fearless. Playing it safe is too risky. Eternity is too long for tiddlywinks. God, shake us, move us, give us a holy discontent, a brokenness for our regions, that we might see more people far from God reached by the gospel, by our sacrifices. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Gang, I've had fun with y'all. Now it's time to say goodbye to all our company. We would love to connect with you online. There's the social media handle. There's the website, chock full of free resources. And again, if you sign up on that clipboard that was going around, you're going to get some invitations in your email box inviting you to free online live leadership coaching. If it's beneficial to you, amazing, awesome. Share it with your friends. If it's not beneficial, shut up. It's free. If you want these really cool Fearless shirts, they're $5 in the lobby. All the money goes right to the website. If we can serve you in any way, I'm going to stick around. The staff's going to stick around. It's our honor to serve you, serve alongside you. But if you're brought here by your senior pastor, take them out to lunch. Pick up the tab. Love on them. Give them some dessert. Give them some Starbucks gift cards. Give them a raise. And give them your support, because that's what they need the most. Thanks for being here. We love you, and we hope to see you again soon. Yeah. I have no idea. You should go ask Brendan. Yeah, right there. I have no idea. Extreme close-up, extreme close-up.